This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm joined by promoter Frank Warren for the first time since Fury Wilder 3. Frank, it's been a while, like we said. How have things been going firstly before we do come on to the reason we're here?
Hello, young man. I'm good. Yeah, so everything's been good. We've been very active, and obviously we've got this big fight, so we're pleased.
So you just mentioned this big fight, Fury Whyte. You've landed it. How excited are you to deliver this fight? Wembley Stadium, April 23rd. A huge kind of announcement, and I don't really want to say start to you because you've got other shows coming up, but you couldn't really get much bigger for yourself.
No, look, it's the world record for a purse bid, and it's a British record for the highest purses paid for any boxers. So it's great. I mean, I'm delighted. It's a massive event, and I'm expecting a sellout here.
Just on that front, we know in the past, Carl Froch fought in front of 80,000 Wembley. AJ was 90. Have you got a capacity confirmed yet?
Look, this place apparently holds just under 100. More importantly, they didn't get paid that type of money, either of those fighters, compared to what Dillian Whyte's getting paid, and also Tyson. There's no comparison.
Obviously, just on Dillian, he won't be here today. He's been silent since the fight was confirmed. I just want to get your thoughts on his lack of talk, shall we say?
Well, it's not lack of talk. Look, let's sort of get into context what happened. First of all, there's a negotiation period. He was made the mandatory. WBC said there'd be a negotiation period. No terms could be agreed, and when you can't agree terms, the next move is to go to purse bids. We won the purse bids. We complied with all the terms of the purse bid, deposit going in, date, venue, etc. Both boxers have now signed their contracts, and they're trying to renegotiate. What's that all about? That's what happened, and I didn't determine what the terms of the purse bid would be, which were 80-20. That was done by the WBC, and that's based off the previous earnings of the boxers. And I think that, from what I understand, Dillian's previous fight was 300,000, and I think he had one at 5 and another one at 3. Tyson's last fight was 20 million. That's how it came about. And people say, I noticed some people have said that's not fair on him. Well, Djokovic, as a tennis player, nobody gets paid all the same money he gets paid. All the footballers, at the time in their lifetime, the Beckhams, the Ronaldos, the Messis. Not all footballers get paid the same as them. The draw gets the money, and he's the draw. Tyson's the draw. Whoever he was fighting, coming back here and defending his title for the first time in 4 years, it would be a sellout anyway.
You mentioned Dillian obviously coming back to renegotiate. We've seen that his team have said that there's still that arbitration going on with regards to the purse split. Is that still ongoing? Or?
I've got no idea. It's nothing to do with me. That's between him and the WBC. It's nothing to do with us. I don't even know what it's even about. That's their problem to go and sort out. That's not my problem. I bid, as did Matchroom. Both put a bid in based upon the terms, which was 80-20. So that's what we've done. It's irrelevant. And he keeps banging on about upside. If on Matchroom's bid, he's getting 2 million less. So there's an upside before he starts. And if he wins the fight, there's another 4 million sitting in the WBC's bank that the winner gets.
Is there any risk that with that going on that it might hamper the fight going ahead, Frank?
No, it won't hamper the fight going ahead. We've got a contract. Look, he's got certain things he's supposed to do. One is here. Have you ever heard, you've been around boxing a while now, have you ever heard one of the participants not showing up for the press conference? Have you ever heard one of the participants saying you can't use their photo on the poster?
This is the first time that I've heard of it during my 8 years.
And moaning about the 20%. USYK got 20% when he fought Joshua, and he showed up for the press conference. Tyson, when he fought Klitschko, didn't get 20% and showed up for the press conferences and worked. Everyone does it. This is nonsense.
Frank, just on that front, obviously there was an article which came out today from one of Dillian's team, his lawyers, saying that they had no notice of a presser, for example, which was happening today, and we weren't happy with travel arrangements and what have you.
They would. Well, first of all, you'll see that's been corrected in the Sun. You're talking about that's been corrected because it was a lie. He was offered. We're not contractually bound to do it. He was offered a private jet, so fly him in and take him back the same day. There's various other things he requested. But every time they were like holding a gun to our head, and I'm not standing for that. So as I said, we've got a contract. He signed a contract. He has certain obligations, and let me tell you, and we have certain obligations. So, he ain't here today. So don't expect anything from us as a favour or anything. We're very accommodating. When have you ever had any fighters who are on our show where we've treated them badly? Away fighters, whatever. All of them, all happy. I can't think of too many are unhappy. We've always looked after them and so forth. This is absolute bullshit. I've never known anything like it.
I mean, Frank, just obviously on that article, I don't really need to name everything that was listed, but what did you make of some of the stuff which was brought up in that article? So, such as, for example, they won't advise on whether or to what extent Fury is subject to anti-doping testing.
It's really simple. It's not for me to advise. It's the WBC and the Boxing Board of Control to advise. What is it to do with me? Both of them, Tyson signed up and he's signed up for the doping test. I don't get it. What's that all about? Speak to the Board of Control, comes under their jurisdiction and comes under the WBC. What nonsense is this?
We also mentioned he doesn't know what ring size it will be and he hasn't been told anything about that.
Let me tell you something. We won the purse bid. It'll be the ring size, a standard ring size that we put in, because we won the purse bid. We paid $10 million more than his promoter did. He should have spoken to his promoter and told him to put in 11 million, then he could have done all these things and he'd have been happy and he'd probably be sitting here. And so would Tyson, by the way, because that's he's a professional.
Away from obviously that, Frank, just with Dillian not being here, do you think it will affect the PPV boys just because he's not been speaking?
Look,
to help promote the fight?
Let me just put it this way. The WBC's based this purse bid, the percentage of the purse bid, off of their purses. So Tyson's last fight was $20 million purse, his was 300. So who's the star? Who's the one that the people pay to see? It's Tyson Fury. He's conquered America and he's back here. His first fight in 4 years. He could be fighting me and people would turn out. He's got his opponent. I expect him to show up. I don't see why he shouldn't show up. Why wouldn't he show up for $8 million? He's got $2 million upside on the strength of what his own promoter put in.
Frank, obviously just want to touch on a couple of things which people think maybe held up the fight being announced a little bit. Dillian had an issue with the UK tax law or regulations and that, and then just on Tyson's front, he wanted to be registered as an overseas fighter. He wanted to be registered as an overseas fighter instead of...
will be licensed by the Boxing Board of Control on the night. There's no issue. Ring up the Boxing Board and ask them. You're asking questions of me, which are formalities. This is Eddie Hearn's bullshit that he keeps putting out all this crap. All the time, you win a purse bid or whatever it is. You remember Tyson was going to fight Wilder. It'll never happen. He won't show up. This is not happening. That's not happening. Worry about your own business, and we'll worry about ours. If you were really serious, you would have bid more money for the fight. As he said, what did he say? We even said we manipulated it. We manipulated like we did for the Andrade fight and Parker. We manipulated that with the lesser amount. It's pathetic, all this. We've got a fight. It's a good fight. It will sell out. Tomorrow the tickets go on sale. And I'm going to tell you now, if we don't do 50 to 60,000 tickets tomorrow, I'm going to be absolutely surprised. So you call me tomorrow and we get verification from Ticketmaster what they've sold.
Frank, obviously just want to, I'm not trying to pull anything bad over you, just following up on what we've seen over the last couple of days. Just away from this, I just want to get your thoughts on Alexander Usyk. Obviously we're seeing the heartbreaking situation the Ukraine find themselves in the minute, and Alexander travelling back to the Ukraine to help out his country. Just your thoughts.
For what's happening in the Ukraine. It's bullying, it's wrong. On all counts it's wrong. There's women, children, people's homes getting bombed. Their lives are totally disrupted. People are dying. It's wrong. And they're going to fight for their country, and God bless us and good luck to them, standing up to a bully.
Just two more things I just want to get your thoughts on. Firstly, Taylor Catchall this past weekend, a controversial decision. What was your thoughts?
I thought Jack won it. I thought that he won the fight. I thought he was the busier fighter. I thought, with Josh, I thought it's terrible. These people who trolled him, by the way. He doesn't. judge the fight. That was down to the judge. I thought one of the judges' scorecards was ridiculous, beyond ridiculous. My problem with all the scorecard situation is nobody's accountable. If they were football referees, some of them, they'd be downgraded, but they're not. They just move on to the next one, and sometimes it's repetitive. So it's the same for Jack, because the problem is, Josh said he'd give him a rematch, but he's obviously moving up in weight, so he's never going to get that chance again to fight for the four belts and become a unified champion. And he went and did it in the other guy's backyard. So I think it's terrible, and I hope the Boxing Board of Control pull their finger out and do something about it.
Frank, are you worried about this will kind of create a stain on the sport, and the younger generations coming through might look at it and think, well, if that's happened to Jack, it's happened in previous fights and will continue to happen?
I mean, look, the majority of the fights are all okay, but we occasionally get these bad decisions. Sometimes you get bad decisions in other sports, football and so forth. But it is what it is, but you have to deal with it, and the Board of Control needs to deal with it. And I strongly feel about this that they should be looking at some of these referees and if they're competent or not. I mean, I don't want British officials for this fight. It's cheaper for me to have British officials. I haven't got to pay airfares. I haven't got to do all these things. But I am going to ask that the WBC appoint overseas officials.
Away from that again, Carnbrook happened a couple of weeks ago. Just on the winners front, I know Cal's mentioned Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, but would you be interested to try and make the David Avanesian fight?
In a heartbeat. But they won't. They won't. They won't be interested, that's for sure. I'll do it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
Well, Frank, it's a pleasure to catch up with you as always. Thank you for speaking to me.
Pleasure.